Hey guys, it's me, Tony with Southern Style. I was on vacation, so I didn't have time to do a whole lot of videoing the past few weeks. You know, this ain't my main gig. This is just something I do. Right now, as you can see, I'm doing my trim. What I'm doing is caulking my trim. Um, this trim here is actually, I put trim down. In this room here, I put quarter round around the floor where I put this new floor in, and I used the original old trim. The only reason why I did that is that trim was taller than the trim you can get nowadays. Nowadays, your trim is real short. It's not, it's only like 3.5 inches tall. Back then, you could get 5-inch trim. You know, that's trim that was put in this house in the 50s probably. This is trim that I just put in. But anyways, I like to take and paint my walls first. I don't mind to do my trim like on my doors, and when I put my doors in and stuff like this, I don't mind to do that. And I don't mind to do my windows because you caulk them all in, get everything sealed good, and then you paint. And you know, you paint the trim first. I think I showed y'all that, and then I just paint my line, you know, right up to it, freehand to that. Makes it look really nice and neat. But now on my baseboards, a lot of times whenever I'm doing a house like this, I like to take and put my baseboard pre-paint it. You know, I buy it primed, and then I paint it and get it ready. And then I come in and I put my baseboard in over top of my painted walls, and then I caulk the top of the baseboard in and the nail head, the nail holes. That's how I like to do it. It looks pretty good, and I'm going to show you what I do. I use Windex, white caulking. A lot of times I'm out of clear. A lot of times I like to use the clear on the top up here, just because if you use clear and you put it on there and you get it, it'll dry clear, and then when you go back and paint this, you don't have to worry about it, you know, getting up on the color of your wall, you know, the whatever color you painted your walls. But I'm going to kind of let you hang out with me for a little while, watch me do this. I'm going to be laying on the floor, you know, caulking all this in, but you know, all in all, it's pretty easy. Anyone could do this to their house. And I'll show you the difference on this trim here in a minute. If you see that right there, see that big gap? See, that was the old trim that was in here, and that's the new stuff. That's the difference in the height of it. So, you know, I've got to, I'm going to caulk that gap. That's my top of my vanity in there. But I'll have to caulk that gap and fill that up probably 2 or 3 times before I ever get it, you know, where I want it. There's all kinds of tricks to that, and I'll probably use a couple. A lot of people take and put, you know, like paper towels, you know, boop, right there. They put paper towels in it or toilet paper or whatever, stuff the hole, and then they come and put the caulking over it. That's fine. It works. You're just trying to keep the caulking up on top so it'll glue, you know, so it'll set up. It won't make a divot when you paint. But, you know, I usually use drywall mud. Just depends, like these gaps right here, like that. I'll caulk it today, but normally I would take and run drywall mud down in that. And then I would wipe it all off clean, and then I would caulk it in. And it would, you know, that would give you let the drywall mud set up. But I'm trying to get done with this house. I've been working on it for, I feel like a month of Sundays. You know what I mean? It's been forever. This house just keeps going and going. So I'm trying to get done with it. And, you know, I've got an afternoon. I just got off work. It's like 7 o'clock at night. I'm going to work for an hour or two just trying to caulk some of this stuff in so that I can come back and paint it. I may even paint it tonight, but I just need to get some of this done. And this stuff here's what eats your time up when you're doing renovations or anything, flipping, whatever you're doing. This eats your time. You know, it's just this little tedious stuff that you don't think about it when you're doing a house. And a lot of people, if you was doing your own home, you'd throw this in and never even do it. And it just, you know, it's just like when I bought this house and I showed you all, you know, this trim up here, it looked horrendous. But after you caulk it in and paint it, I mean, it just looks fantastic, you know. So you have to, it's a step you have to do, and people don't do it. They don't think about it. They're you know, they're trying to cut corners, or they're like, oh, I can't do that very well. Well, stay with me. I'll show you the tips that I know. It may not be the right way, but it's a way. You know, it's a way I do it, and it turns out really good. I've never had anybody go, well, you didn't know what you was doing. I didn't, but that's the way I like to do it. Now on this stuff here, it's just, I'll go in here and I'll caulk it and smear it and just knock it out. You know, this when you're doing this quarter round, easy. But where you get into a technique is when you get on that baseboard trim, like what's in there, and you get on that top up next to that painted color, you know. But I'm gonna set you up over here, set you up where you can kind of hang out with me for a little bit, and watch me do this. Probably try to set you up right here on this paint can. Again, I still haven't got anything to do, you know, I still haven't got any type of stuff for this video, and I'm not planning on doing anything with it until I start, you know, actually getting some people watching it. And there's only 3 or 4 people watching it. It's not worth me sinking a bunch of money into it, you know. But everybody, you know, if you're renovating houses and you ask anybody what they're doing, and they're all going to give you pointers of how they like to do it. But you know, everybody's different. But like I said, here's what I like to use: the Windex. Hope you can see that. And you got your trash bag. I like to use. I just use that white caulking. I hope you can see that too. But I like to use painter's towels, but I've run out. So you know, Sam's Club, cheap stuff. There it is. But so on this one here, when I'm doing these, I like to go in here. You just take the caulking gun, and I cut it at a 45-degree angle, or roughly. You know, it's probably a 30 or 40-degree angle right here. I don't know if you can see it, but right there. And I cut it just a little bit off with a razor knife. This actually has a little thing that snips them off. That's a really cool idea. But I just cut it off, and then when you're doing this trim here, this quarter round, you just put it up on the edge, put your edge in there, and like I said, you can see how it's angled. Put that in there just like that. And all I'm doing is making that crack disappear. You know? And doing exactly what my wife hates me to do with caulking here in a second. I go for a little while, stop, set that on top of that, take my finger, run it right down through there. Make sure it goes in that crack. You got a little bit left over in your hand, wipe it off, and then you'll always have to do your nail hose. And it just takes a little bit on those. Like I said, when I'm doing trim up on the, you know, around your casings and stuff, I really like to do all my nail hose with drywall mud, and that's just because it tends to dry flat, to where caulking will always take and dry with a divot, because it shrinks. It has so much shrinkage in it. And when you're doing this trim like this, I know you're like, well, you're not getting all the way to the bottom there in that corner, but you know, I'm not a professional. You know, I'm just doing what I can, trying to make it look good. And I'll even show you here. When I painted this trim, I painted it white once, and I caulked it. I painted it white, and then I came back and I painted above it with the color paint. You know, with this gray. And that's one of them things where it's a double-edged sword on you, because you want to try to stay off of your trim as much as possible, but then what you end up doing is you always end up down on top of your trim. And from a distance, you know, 20 feet away, which you don't have 20 feet in here to look at, but from 20 feet, it looks fine. But when you get up on it, you'll see how bad your line is. That's why you take and do these, you have to come back after the fact and fix all your trim. Because what you do is it's easier to paint that white stripe back on there because of the angle in which you're painting. It's just easier to do. Everybody, you know, it's my wife, we talk about it all the time, and she's like, so many steps. Wish there wasn't so many steps. Well, that's just the way it is. Nothing you can do about it. There's steps. It takes, you know, to make it look right, it just takes step after step to get to the end. So, and I tried every way in the world to try to skip them. You know, do something easier, but it always comes back where I have to do it the way, you know, the best way. It's just like when you do a corner read when you're mudding and taping on your drywall. You know, you do one side, let it dry, and then come back and do the other one. And you don't want to. No one wants to do it that way because you're thinking, well, man, I can knock that out faster if I can do both sides. You can't do both sides. I mean, sure, I'm sure there's professionals out there that's going to be like, well, I can do both sides. Well, sure, go right ahead. But for the average homeowner doing something like what I'm doing, that's not going to happen. You're going to, they do make a really cool tool that I bought, and it can make it a lot easier on you. But that tool is a V shape, and you have to get that corner about done anyways. So you have to bud one side, bud the other side, and sand it out, and then you can take that V trowel and make that corner smooth. But if you don't have it already pretty much done, it still has the tendency not to be done well, you know. Because I've tried it both ways, thinking, well, I can knock this out this way, and you can't. You know, I mean, you can do some of it, but we're gonna try to get this done pretty quick so I can move on. You know, like this house is eating my lunch. Like every day is growing, but you put a little bit on your finger, makes that little edge go away. That's all you're trying to do is make that edge go away. I'll show you over here. Let's get real close. That's my knee pads popping. I don't know. Whoop, right there, blacked out. But I'm gonna show you up close here what I'm doing, so you can see it. You see that gap in there? A little bit of a gappage. All right. So what I do is I take this thing and I take it. You see that edge? I take it like that. I start in that corner, and I get it started. And then I just run it down through here. It don't take that much of the stuff. All right. Then you just take your finger and you run it back across it. And then whatever's on your finger, you try to fill those holes in with. You can see what I'm doing here. And then you want to get these hoses. You know, all you're trying to do at this point with those is get them filled up enough to where when you come back, they take and, you know, they'll just paint over. And I can show you that edge. You know, it looks fairly good on there, but you see my dips and stuff in my paint. You know, I paint as best I can, but that don't mean nothing. You know, it'll look all right when I'm done though. And then you just put a little bit right here. Just a little dot right there, be more than enough for what I'm gonna do. And then you just run it across. Stop like that. And then I take it right down like that, just a little bit. It don't have to go all the way to the floor. I don't care what anybody says. And all you're doing is filling up these little cracks. Because when we're done, and I'm finished with it, I'm gonna come back here in a minute and I'm gonna paint every bit of this. It ain't gotta be perfect. It just has to be on there. I guess. You just want it halfway decent. Because you gotta think, I've got paintbrush marks that's gonna be on here. And when the paintbrush marks go on here, you'll never see most of this. Most of the stuff you'll never even notice it because the paintbrush marks. Yeah, that's why I use paintbrush, because it leaves marks on the wood so that you can get by with this. I don't know, maybe. That's why I use paintbrush. I don't know why they all think it's the easiest thing. And I got this cool paintbrush I'm doing this with. All right. Bought a little square one. I never seen one like it. I was over at Lowe's the other day, you know, and I'm a stippler for your paintbrushes now. You ask my wife, I'm very, I guess the best word is anal about a paintbrush. I take my paintbrushes and I keep them clean and I try to take care of them because they're $14 or $15 a piece, the ones I get. And I've said it before, you want to learn how to paint. That paintbrush means a lot to you. You may think, well, I'll just go to, you know, your big box store and buy the cheap ones for a couple bucks. Well, you're just throwing your money in the garbage if you want it to look good. Now, again, it's another one of the things where I'm saying that, and there's probably a painter out there that's like, you give me any paintbrush and I can outdo you. I'm sure, because I'm not a painter. You know, I'm just an average person out here doing what I can, you know. But if you was out here being, you know, if I was a professional, which I'm not, to make sure everybody knows that, I'm just an average person just trying to get this done. And I'm very particular with the way things look to a certain extent. Like even that little dip right there, I had to fill it in. It bothers me. But when I'm done, I'll paint that edge on there. Well, I got this paintbrush is like, I've never seen one like it. It's a little square one. It's made for this stuff. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'll review it. Not saying I'm the guy that reviews stuff, but I'll tell you what I think about it. But like I said, I spent $25 for a paintbrush before because it was supposed to be exactly the paintbrush I wanted for what I did, and you need it. Like I said, you can ask my wife. I've tried the little cheap ones, and evidently I'm not good enough with it. So when you're not good enough, well, you get what you get, you know. Crawling around on this floor. The good thing about using doing it like this with quarter round, you can see right there where I cut that jam up there so I could take and install this floor underneath that door. The good thing about using quarter round is how fast it is when you're going back doing touch-ups on your finishing, because quarter round is well, it's white on white. Or if you're doing painted stuff, it's already stained or whatever you do. But it's not like you like when I do the new trim that I put down. Now I'll show you that here in a minute. That's different. It's a little more aggravating. I'm gonna leave that hole there, and later on, see, this trim is already used, so you'll see why. Maybe if I remember to video it. I don't know if I will, but there'll be you have your door stops that go on this stuff. So later on when I'm doing my door stops, that hole ought to be there. That hole right there. There's a hole in that trim. That's where the door stops originally screwed in. I ordered them the other day. Again, you know, I go to Lowe's, and I buy a lot of Lowe's. Not plug-in, not anything. I mean, it's our, you know, you got Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's. You got all them places, and you know, that's the one I have a credit card at. That's the way I look at it. And I just ordered stuff from Home Depot today, but that's different. I'm just saying, I get a lot from Lowe's because they're, you know, the next town over, and I don't have to go as far to purchase stuff. They've already got it there, you know. That's my local big box store. So there's my big gap. Isn't that crazy? This is the original trim, and that's the old stuff. And when I put it on there, I smoothed it out, you know, try to match it, because this is thicker, and I tried to make it look like it was in here originally. That's why it's a little on the rough side. Honestly, it is what it is. I don't know how to end up like that. But when I'm done, you'll think this trim was just this piece. You'll think, well, heck, that was probably what was original, because I want to stuff that hole full of this old paper here. It's in my garbage bag. It's got coffee all over it. I'll take my waste paper, and like I said, I usually don't do it this way when I'm doing stuff, because I like to use drywall mud most of the time. But you take this paper like this, and you just stuff it in this hole. And I've seen it done different ways, and I've seen, you know, many different people do it. But what I have noticed is that there's no right or wrong to anything, as long as you're trying to do it. You know, you're doing what you can. Just do whatever you can. You know, when it's done, as long as it looks good, then you did it right. At the end of the day, it's what you could afford, and be happy with it. I mean, I know a lot of people that think that everything has to be done, a certain way because that's the way they was always told. But the truth is that it only has to be done that way because that's how they want it. I don't live in a conventional home. I live in a barn. We wanted something different whenever a few years back before COVID hit, and we was like, well, when I say a few years back, we built it right before COVID hit, but I designed our house like, I don't know, like 20 years ago. Me and my wife was wanting to build a barn house a long time ago. When we first got married, I was like, I know the cost of things, and I was like, it'd be cheaper if we just built this, and I drew a blueprint out, and then she was like, we were young and didn't have a pot to pee in for the most part, and we was like, well, we have to build it out of this and out of that, and, back then, I'm talking, this is like the early 2000s, no one lived in barn houses then, and I took it, so we had changed it to brick, and then we had vinyl, and went back and forth. My wife always wanted, she's like, I always wanted a brick house, and so he's like, all right, well, we'll do brick, and we lived in a trailer for a long time, you know what I mean? We lived in a single wide trailer for a long time. I was dreaming, you do that when you're young, and we just could never get there, and now that my kids are grown and gone, we was able to actually afford to build one, and we built our house, and it's a barn, and it's a nice house. Don't get me wrong. It's just it's just a big old metal building though. It's alright, but it's not conventional. Is what I'm trying to get at. I'm not talking about the house. I don't really care, but it's not a conventional house. It's not what everybody thought was going to be. What everybody else had, we were after our own thing. So, and that's what I'm getting at. You can do whatever you want to do. It's your thing. You do enough. If you have inspections and stuff, now this is not something that anybody would ever notice what I'm doing right here. I'm just filling that gap in. Oops, sorry. I'm trying to fill this gap in. Okay. So that when I'm done, when I caulk this in a second, and that caulking won't fall back in there. But this isn't something you'll ever see. You'll never know I did this. When I'm done, you'll think, well, that ain't there. Gotta make sure it's in there good. Put enough in there, eventually I'll fill that hole up, huh? Should probably come out a little looser, huh? But anyways, again, y'all do it how you want to do it. I'm hoping that I can get this all closed up today and get home at a decent time. My days turn into weeks. I don't know what y'all think about this floor, but I like the color of it. I don't care much for the planks really. It goes down easy, makes it to where anybody can do it, and that's nice. But man, it has its good points, its bad points. Good points are that what I just said, it goes down pretty easy. Bad points is that Even though I put mine in fairly tight, as the weather changes, you can tell that it's changing because it'll gap or move around and stuff. I'll tell you, the biggest help you can have with that flooring is that you go and buy a little thing of vinyl glue for road floors, and you keep that with you when you're putting that floor down, because that floor, sometimes the little tongues and stuff will break, and when they break off, you'll have to have something to glue them together, and you put a little bit of that vinyl glue in there, because that's all this floor is that vinyl floor just made the planks, you know. And you take a little bit of that vinyl glue and you glue them together as you put it down, and it helps tremendously. Oh, I don't know what you're seeing now. You might be seeing the ceiling, but that's okay. I'll get you back up in a second. There you are. But yeah, you're gonna learn a valuable lesson here. Probably don't want to do this. This is time consuming right here. But you want to get in there. Like I said, all I'm doing is trying to keep it in there, so that when I put all that caulking in here in a minute, it'll take it. It won't fall back in there as much. Anyways, getting back to the vinyl floor. This stuff is easy to put down. It's DIY friendly. That's what people are after with it, and which that's nice. Highly recommend, if you're going to use it, don't buy that cutter tool. I bought one this time just to see what it would do. I never had one before, and I always thought, man, I'd like to have that. Just cut it with a razor knife like you're supposed to. Easy way of doing it. And but I highly recommend, when you're putting it in, have some of that glue with you, and when you're installing it, have somebody else help you. But I highly recommend you make sure that when you're going around your house that you find your focal points before you put it down, because those are going to be the spots that matter on that floor. All right, so now you see what I did right there. I'm gonna bring it up like this. You can kind of see it in there. All right, now you know what to do. All right, stay right there for a second. Stay still. Okay. I gotta clean myself off. I got the goo all over me. Okay. Good Lord. That stuff is nasty. Sticks to everything. It's just talking a little bit. My wife will be in here. She'll be like, what the hell were we? So, anyways, you got that in there. Make sure it's good. Make sure it's in there good. All right, and then you just take your gun in here to get this one off of it. Then you fill it in. Now you see why I did that. Because when I'm done, I'm basically making trim out of this. I don't like doing it that way. That's what I'm doing. I'll probably smooth it out the best I can tonight. And then tomorrow night, when I come back to do some more work, I'll do it again. You see how much it takes if I don't do that. You take a whole tube right here, fill that little gap up right there. It's insane. Then you just take your finger down through here, make it look halfway decent. That's all you're after. Especially on an old house. If it was a new house, it may be a little different, but if it was a new house, you would be doing this. You know what I'm saying? If you had a brand new house, all your trim would match. Hopefully. Let's see. You did that. Ta-da! You know, if it worked, was it a bad idea? That's how I see it. If you take and can make it work, it's not necessarily if it's the best idea. over there. I know the camera probably doesn't show it, but I can see it. Come up it on my fingers. So I'm gonna feel this hole in here in a second. There's a hole right here. I'd say they had a telephone jack or something right there at one time. For y'all that know who I am out there, my friends, I can tell you that that's probably a telephone jack because that's what I do for a living, not this. I actually work for the phone company. Been doing it for 23 years. And I've seen everything people do. That's why I started doing these houses, because I've seen what people do to the houses, and I'm like, man. And I've seen some cool little tricks over the years. You see that? That gap's gone. That piece of trim looks like it's been there since the house was built. That's what I was after right there. I know my camera work sucks, so you don't have to comment on that. I'm not a professional. I'm just a guy with a camera in his hand, with an iPhone at that point. Food truck season's in effect. So I was so busy this past weekend. We had an event. I was so busy I didn't have time to even think about videoing any of it. I wanted to, but I didn't have time. But I wish I had time to do it. We were running as hard as we could, you know, which that's what you want. But anyways, so now you can see it. That's done pretty much. Just gotta let her dry. Even if it's got some little boogers on it, you know, like little pieces sticking off, that's okay. On an old house, it's okay. Now, if this is a brand new house, nah, I'd be a little upset. But this house is, you know, this house is 60, I guess it's 66 years old. It's doing pretty good. You know, a lot of 66-year-old houses don't look like this one. But it looks rough whenever I come in here, you know. But, all right, there's that one. And then I'm going to go out in the hallway. I'll flip the light on for you. We'll do a little bit of video out there. While I'll just do a little bit of it and show you how I do that. That's where the tricks come in. That's going to be where I show you a pretty neat little trick. Nothing great, but just something different. And there's what it looks like now. It's not going to really change a lot. When I go to paint it, oh, I was telling you, talk about that brush. Look at that brush. It's square. I thought it was cool. It says it's for, it actually says on there for, well, that's the, you know, windows, ledges, you know, and cabinetry. But it's a square brush, and it's going to be good for this type of stuff. Be able to go in there and get that edge, I think. You know, I like my little teeny tiny brushes. They work good. All right. Wish my knees works better, but that's okay. They're not your knees, right? All right. So, here we are on this one here. And you see that gap right there? It looks horrible. Let me get our stuff here and get started. I'm about out of caulking. You can always tell because of that. But anyways, what I do, just so you see it, I start with my phone said low power mode. All right, I start with it like this, cleaned off. You stick it right on top, okay? And then you just make sure you get it down in there. You don't really care if it overflows or whatever, as long as you get it in there. Okay. All right, so I'll show you that step. And then what I do, I'll put this back over here. I'll show you that, and then we'll stop. After I show you, here's my paper towels, and here's my Windex. See? And what I do is I come back and I go, just like that. I don't know what the professionals do. That's the way I do it. Okay? And then I just take my finger. Take that big gob off there, like that. Done. See how easy it was? You take your paper towel, wipe it extra off. I'll wipe the Windex off. And that makes that edge just as smooth as silk. And that's the trick. Put it on there, spray Windex on it, wipe it off. Bam, you're out of there. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you for watching. I showed you a trick over here with some toilet paper. Showed you my Windex trick for caulking the new baseboards, and you know, explain to you the reason why I don't really push it on making it look, you know, like a brand new house when it's 66 years old. It is what it is. So, I appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe, guys.